Hello bitches, welcome back to my channel. So for today's comic, I'm doing a little wholesome one, talking about a particular item or food that maybe a parent or a guardian has always been giving you, and no matter what age you are, they keep giving you this item or food because they think you still like it and totally forgot that you might have grown up and either not cared about this thing as much or just don't like it anymore. Not that I don't like these items anymore, but for me that was blackberries and smoked salmon. When my dad dropped me off at college the first time, he got me these things. When I moved into my first apartment ever, he got me these things, and then now, just a few weeks ago when he visited me, he got me blackberries and smoked salmon. So I was just inspired from that to make a comic about this because I was just like, it's funny that he keeps giving me these two things no matter what age I am. And in his brain he thinks, oh, we're just picking up from where we last left off, and to me I'm just like, wow, so much has changed. I didn't even realize that this was something that was still in my dad's mind. So yeah, I thought it was sweet, so I made a comic about it, and it is now up on my Instagram. So many of you who already have been watching these new speed paint styled videos already know I am basically going to be talking about topics that are pretty different from what the comic I am drawing is about, just because I've already kind of discussed it on my Instagram. I've already written out a caption discussing what the comic is about and whatnot, so you can always read that on my Instagram. But on my YouTube, I want to discuss more about like the behind the scenes of, you know, being an artist, working in animation, or just living life as an artist in Los Angeles, blah blah blah, you know the drill. So today I wanted to talk about what is life like as an intern working in animation, because I feel like whenever you hear stuff about this, it's either life as an art student or life once you're already deep into the career. But why not talk about that in-between area when you're still kind of a student but also still kind of practicing working for animation, or if you're someone who's in a different job field but wants to switch, and internships is one of the ways. So unfortunately, to start this off on a very negative note, just to get it out of the way, I will say that my experience as an intern has always just majority-wise been feeling like imposter syndrome 24/7. And you know, I know it's a negative thing to say, but I feel like if I bring it up, hopefully there's someone out there that can relate to that, because maybe they're struggling with it too. But I also feel like it is very natural to feel imposter syndrome during the internship stage, because it's like you're a student, but you're now in the professional field, and you know, people selected you because they saw something in you, but you're still clearly like not a full-time professional yet. You're still a student, and you're surrounded by all of these really great, amazing, talented artists who have had so many years of experience already. I feel like it's natural to feel, you know, imposter syndrome in an environment like that. So in a way, it's like, yeah, it's natural. The feeling sucks though. So I feel like you shouldn't really feel that way, but if you do feel that way, it is absolutely normal. The way that you apply to internships in animation are kind of like any other job in terms of just seeing a job application and you apply for it. And I do think when it comes to internships, most of your job applications come in more through the form of an application, because it's not like working full-time where you already have established this form of relationships with your coworkers and they're out there to look out for you and help you look for the next gig. Or it's not like when a project is over, they tend to let other projects or studios know like, hey, we're about to roll off some artists, do you have space for any? It's not like that. It's kind of you're more on your own. Like there's definitely more of an independent feeling to being an intern, because you have to fend for yourself pretty much, because you don't have a pre-established team that's looking out for you. And most likely once after your internship is over, you're gonna go back to school and you won't be back in the workforce until after you graduate, or if you decide to just leave school and just work full-time, or your next internship. So my very first job or internship in animation specifically was at Cartoon Network as a production intern. And as a production intern, you really don't do anything that is art related. You're definitely more there to help out with the entire pipeline and help out just team members and stuff like that. You don't really draw, you're not really creative, although there was a program where you can develop your own pitch and just pitch it to people at work to just hear you out and give you feedback, which I think is a great opportunity for someone who needs an introductory introductory course or something to working in animation, because I feel like even at school, when you are taking all of these art classes, none of these classes ever prepare you for the actual pipeline of working at the studio and how things run. So an internship is a very great start to that. And if you're a production intern, you do get an overview of how everything happens. So during my first internship at Cartoon Network, I think my biggest regret was not being social enough and just definitely being too antisocial. Like, I kind of left really with no friends, really. Like, yes, I left with acquaintances and just people that are mutuals, but I really did not go out of my way to form a friendship or a deeper relationship with anyone, because honestly, I was just so freaking insecure with myself that I couldn't get myself to talk to people or maintain a friendship. So if I were to go back in time and change the way I approached my internship, I definitely would have tried to make more of an effort with being friends with the other interns or trying to talk more to my coworkers. But I often just found myself just in my cubicle, kind of hibernating and just kind of blocking out the rest of the world and just doing what I needed to do and to go back to my apartment as soon as possible. Then when I was back in my apartment, I would spend all that time just pretty much working on my pitch for what was intended for the end of the internship. So I feel like in a way I wasted a lot of my time just focusing on my insecurities and imposter syndrome, and then going back to work on this project that's intended for the end of your internship. So it's in a way, I feel like I kind of forced my internship to end as soon as possible, just because I was so uncomfortable with feeling the insecurities. And I feel like if I just learned to, not feel as insecure, or to learn that imposter syndrome is natural, but it's something that I shouldn't have to feel, because I am in an entry level position and I am here to learn, and I have to accept that there are things I don't know about and I'm not as good as yet with other people, but that doesn't mean I don't deserve respect or friendship or anything like that. You still deserve like all these good things, even if you feel like you don't, belong here, or even if you feel like you're not as good as everyone, you still are in a position of learning, and that's the point of an internship. And I don't know why I set these high expectations on myself and was like, if I'm not as good as these other people around me, I just shouldn't be here. Like, that was pretty much my attitude. So if I were to go back in time, I wish I changed that about myself. But other than that, my experience as a production intern really consisted of conforming scripts, conforming animatics, which means going into the files and updating whatever you need to be up to date with the latest version, and also just helping other employees with like their time cards. Like, I had to hand out people's time cards, and I was able to sit in voice acting sessions and kind of just follow along with the script and see what lines are needed or not needed, and just get that whole experience. And during this whole time, I was also just pretty much working on my own pitch Bible during times I did not really have work from other people, which at the end of the internship, you're able to pitch and get feedback on. At my next internship, which was at Disney Feature, I pretty much was a 2D animation intern, and this time we had a whole project with the team, and this was a total contrast from my Cartoon Network internship, because my Cartoon Network internship, I was pretty much just like, alone and just not really talking to anyone. But the Disney one kind of really forced me to come out of my shell, because you have to work on a group project with everyone else to make this short film together. So it's just like you just ended the school year with creating a short film, and now you have to create a whole other short film, but with other students now. So we made a CG 2D hybrid short film, and my job was to animate a 2D dragon that was going to fly around on these maps and stuff. So I pretty much became friends with everyone that was in the internship, because we had to interact every day, and we formed a very friendly, family-like relationship, which was great, and I actually miss that. I kind of still think about those days of my career or before my career started, and I don't know, it was just a very young, naive, nice time, and even though it's not childhood, for some reason it feels like childhood. So on top of that, you're also assigned mentors to work with, so they pretty much help nurture your skills and everything. So when I was a 2D animation intern, I got help from CG animation mentors, and even though they weren't like specifically 2D animators, they still understand the principles and everything about animation, and they probably could animate on paper so much better than I ever could. And it was interesting because I actually wanted to originally be a story intern, but I did not get the position for that. So I was able to land on the 2D animation internship, and although I was not originally there to eventually be a 2D animator or anything like that, I just felt like it was still important to take advantage of this position and still get to meet people in the industry, because your internship is not permanent. So no matter what position you take, even if it's not exactly aligning with your future career or ideal position in the industry, it's at least helping you meet people. And I think during your internship, that is more important than the role itself. So the next internship I had after Disney was at Dreamworks, and that was where I was a character art intern, and this almost had nothing to do with anything I really wanted to do in animation, but it was still an internship, so I decided to take it on. And on top of that, it allowed me to skip some classes in school, because if I took on this internship, it would pretty much serve as like class credits, so it helped me in that realm. So I was like, yeah, of course, I'll take this internship. And I only had to go to the office 2 to 3 days a week, which was honestly kind of a nice life looking back at that, to just be like, yeah, some of the days I just stay on campus and go to class, other days I take the train out to Glendale and I just intern at the Dreamworks campus. That was honestly a nice life. If I could relive a moment in time, I would probably want to relive that internship as well, in addition to my Disney one. So I think that this internship was more for marketing purposes. It was not really for animation or the story or the narrative. This was more for creating art to help market the films and TV shows that Dreamworks makes. So during my time on this internship, I actually also became pretty good friends with the people that I was working with, and they weren't interns, they were actually people working there, so I felt like I was actually, being treated as an equal and not like being reminded that I'm just here for an internship or whatever. I felt a little bit more merged into the world. So it was really nice to be able to have that. And after taking on all of these internships, even though none of them were exactly a story internship, which is what I really wanted to do, I just really wanted to do story, I think my biggest takeaway from all of this is that no matter what type of internship you get for whatever career or animation career, even if it's not exactly what you wanted, I would still try to take it just to get your foot into the door. And I think that even still, during this very short 2 to 3 month time frame, the most important thing is getting to build relationships with other people and forming your foundation, because your support system is literally going to be the people that you befriend at work, and these are people that you can develop genuine friendships with, and it doesn't have to always be purely transactional just because it's work. So if you are in a position right now where you are trying to get a career started in animation, whether if you're a student or someone looking to change jobs, and this is like your very first job, I would try to not worry too much about what the position is exactly, because I think that getting your foot in the door is always the hardest part when you know nobody. But once you know somebody, things start to get easier from that point onward, and the more people you know and the more people that know you, it does get easier from that point onward, from my experience. And looking back in time, I really don't think that if any of those internships were story related or not would have really affected anything. Like, yes, maybe if 1 or 2 of those internships were story related, maybe I would get a more kickstart into my career and not have to wait all that time that I did after graduation for my first story revisionist job. But I will say that I still eventually landed on a storyboard revisionist job anyway, and it's not like the lack of a story internship really interfered with that. It could have helped, but I think that building those relationships and connections was definitely more powerful than the type of internship I had. So some other pieces of advice I would have if you're trying to apply to your first internship is that if this is your first internship, try to make use of any of your past experiences to uplift you during the interview process. Like, I literally got my Cartoon Network internship from what I believe is from one of my past non-animation related internships, which was a print design intern for a fashion company, which honestly is not my world at all. Like, I really do not vibe with the fashion world despite loving wearing clothes and stuff. But for some reason, that internship just stood out to people and they're like, hey, that's different, so we're interested in taking you on. So if you had a internship or a past job in something that has nothing to do with animation, still bring it up. Don't be afraid to mention it if you have nothing else to mention. So it really helps to just talk about your past experiences and how you can bring something new to the table through that past experience. Even when it's not animation related, you can still find a way to connect the two. Next, this pretty much goes among the lines of what I mentioned earlier, but your time frame at these internships are going to be so short. Like, it might sound long when you're living through it, but 2 to 3 months is really not that long, but it is enough time to just get to know people and establish a relationship with someone, and maybe even just get to know a few artists around that studio. So one of the things I did with my friends during my Disney internship was we would just team up and just email people and be like, hey, we would love to get to talk to you over a coffee or just get to learn more about who you are and how you got here. And we would just take turns emailing and meet up with them. And they were not always necessarily to what we wanted to do exactly in animation, but it helps to just get to know someone and just see who they are and what they do to contribute to the part of the pipeline. And I'll just never remember the piece of advice I got from someone at Disney being like, I just like to look at furniture during my free time, because that is also what I now do sometimes during my free time, and I totally understand why. So now whenever I visualize an internship in my head, I pretty much think of a studio granting you access to this playground for 2 to 3 months to do whatever the hell it is that you want in there. So you could go play with the kids in the sandbox, play with the kids at the monkey bars, play with the kids at the swing set. You could do whatever. And I feel like when you start your internship, if it is art related and if it is something you wanted to do, yeah, you can always be improving and developing your skills and getting feedback from professionals. But I feel like the part with developing connections and relationships with others is always a little bit less emphasized. Like, yeah, they do emphasize it, but it's not always as pushed onto people. I feel like 2 to 3 months just easily fly by, so if I had to push one thing that you should do the most of, it would probably be trying to get to know the people on your team, because those could be your future friends, your future supporters, and maybe even your future family, who knows. So yeah, I hope this video gave you some insight on what internships are like, but this is again based on my personal experience, and everyone's internship experience will differ, especially if you're at a different studio. So yeah, thank you for watching this video, and I will see you all in the next one. So peace out and stay wholesome, bitches.